But you and that production were able to take 18 jokes away out of the program so that people not seeing the live feed wouldn't see it. So if you could do that for them, why didn't this happen? And I suspect it is the same reason. People wanted ratings. People wanted controversy. And now you have it.
Yeah, the George Floyd joke, it wasn't a tasteful joke to our culture, to our audience. But if you're watching the roast, you get why they're doing it. You get why the racial humor is stop talking as if I said it.
Or whatever it is. I think with certain things.
Did not say it.
Kevin Hart is once again caught in controversy after the Netflix roast backlash following criticism over a joke about George Floyd. Hart claims comedians can't be controlled and says people are twisting the narrative. Meanwhile, D.L. Hughley has also delivered an explosive reaction, raising serious questions about the production and the ratings-driven nature of the show. Now the biggest question is, was this just comedy, or was controversy intentionally created? And is Kevin Hart really responsible, or is he just being made a scapegoat?
It's on the table.
Do you feel like Tony Hinchcliffe went too far when he made that joke about George Floyd?
It's Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
I don't expect less. I don't expect more. People are talking about that joke. Talk about his set. Tony Hinchcliffe arguably had the best set. Would I tell those jokes? No. But do I get why they're being told? Mm-hmm. It's my production. We're live. What is it that you expect me? You want me to take a live production and stand up and fight Tony or have a reaction? I don't understand why we stand on a hill and it becomes like this big thing.
In this moment, Kevin Hart is basically framing the entire situation as part of the roast culture system. According to him, comedians in that environment are expected to push boundaries, even if those boundaries make people uncomfortable. He even suggests that Tony Hinchcliffe was simply doing what he was hired to do: deliver shock value comedy in a live production where unpredictability is part of the format. But here's where the controversy starts to deepen, because critics aren't questioning whether roast comedy allows shock jokes. They're questioning whether everything should be excused under that label. And that's where D.L. Hughley enters with a completely different angle.
Tony Hinchcliffe understood the assignment, relentless as he always is, but funny. You can't have emotions. You gotta understand what the assignment is, man. Everybody came out there and did their thing. It's not what a roast is about. Leave the emotions and the feelings at the front door. People are coming in and they're looking for the shock factor. They're looking for the crazy reaction about the hard-hitting joke. Let them fly. It's all in the efforts of being funny. It's that simple.
In this moment, Kevin Hart goes even deeper into his defense of the roast culture, and he doesn't hesitate to credit Tony Hinchcliffe for fully understanding the assignment. According to Kevin, a roast isn't about emotional comfort, it's about pushing boundaries no matter how uncomfortable it gets. He argues that comedians in that space are expected to go all in, to deliver shock, intensity, and reactions from the crowd, not restraint. And from his perspective, Tony didn't fail the moment, he actually did exactly what the format demands. Because in roast comedy, if the audience isn't reacting strongly, then the performance itself is considered incomplete. And that's why Kevin frames it like this. It's not about whether you personally like the joke, it's about whether the joke fulfilled the purpose of the roast. And in his eyes, Tony Hinchcliffe didn't just perform well, he performed exactly as intended.
Of course, that was Tupac, I Ain't Mad At You. So, of course, Kevin Hart appears on another show, still explaining what went on with the roast. And I guess at one point, he apparently says that some fans are blaming him for the Tony Hinchcliffe joke. I think it's ridiculous to blame a man for a joke he didn't tell. I also think that, and I've said before, I don't think that comedians should apologize for jokes. I think that that is a artistic expression, and I think, like I said before, that every single joke has a victim. Having said that, the question to me is not, and I've heard so often, why is it that we're still, after 2 weeks, we're talking about a George Floyd joke? My question is, why is it after 6 years you continue to tell them? And especially when being asked a question like that, why this joke has been such a lightning rod of controversy, being asked that by people who still talk about an election that they believe was stolen 6 years ago. Or they still talk about, things that they are angry about. And the timing of it and the length of time doesn't seem to matter then.
DL Hughley doesn't attack Kevin Hart directly at first. Instead, he dismantles the logic behind the defense. He points out something very important, that if production had the ability to remove 18 jokes after the live show, then the idea that nothing can be controlled starts to fall apart. And that one detail changes everything. Because now the argument is no longer about comedy freedom. It becomes about selective control. Why were some jokes removed and others allowed to stay? And according to DL Hughley, that's where the real question begins. Was this just comedy happening naturally, or was controversy being carefully left untouched because it benefits engagement?
My rebuttal is simplicity. Remove me from it, I didn't say it. I'm not compromising the live production for a reaction of what? What do you want me to do? I'm going to drag him off? You want me to fight afterwards? You want me to turn it into, what? That's not what I agreed to do. That's not the job at hand. The job at hand was to produce a successful roast, which I did. Stop talking as if I said it. So when you say the family and the family's affected, I didn't disrespect the family. Showed up for the family when it happened.
I get what you're saying and how you stand on your business, and I respect you for that.
I'm not talking about standing on business.
Or whatever it is. I think with certain things,
not say it.
But their pushback is it happened at Kevin Hart's roast.
The responsibility it starts to compile as if I'm the one in charge. We are not in charge of the dialogue from anybody on that stage.
Kevin Hart pushes back hard against the backlash. He says people are blaming him for a joke he never even told. According to Kevin, he had no control over what was said on stage during the live roast. And he questions what people expected him to do in that moment: stop the show mid-broadcast or drag a comedian off stage. For him, that's not how live production works. He insists his job was to produce the roast, not police every joke. And he makes one thing clear: stop treating him like he was responsible for every word said that night.
I think, again, that a comedian should never answer or have to answer for a joke, and particularly a joke he didn't tell. But it's disingenuous to believe that joke wasn't designed to do exactly what it's doing now, and to have this level of controversy. I think that if you could ask the question, why after all this time we're still talking about that joke, about a joke about George Floyd, it is a fair question to ask, why after all this time are you still telling it? Because I think the reason it is told and the reason that people are continue to be angry about it are one and the same. So I think one man's joke is another man's trauma. I think all of us, have the right to either be offended or laugh or whatever. Nobody's trying to intercede. Nobody's trying to make that an issue. What is an issue is there seems to be this idea that only jokes affect one side. And I was struck by when Kevin talked about how, he was talking and he said, what was I supposed to do in the middle of a live broadcast and basically stop somebody from telling a joke? No. But the fact remains that 18 jokes were removed after the live feed. 18 of them were removed, including one that was told about Melania Trump. So if it is that you removed 18, because you very much could have jumped up and stopped somebody from telling a joke, but you and that production were able to take 18 jokes away out of the program so that people not seeing the live feed wouldn't see it. So if you could do that for them, why didn't this happen? And I suspect it is the same reason. People wanted ratings. People wanted controversy. And now you have it. But if you're asking why we are talking about it after 2 weeks, we're talking about a George Floyd joke, I just don't understand after 6 years and many roasts why you're still telling them. That's a little note from the GED section. Got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes.
This is where DL Hughley escalates the entire discussion. He suggests something that changes the tone completely, that maybe the controversy isn't accidental at all. Maybe it's predictable, maybe even intentional. Because in today's media environment, outrage equals attention, and attention equals ratings. So when he points out that jokes were removed after the fact, but not during the moment, it raises a difficult question. Was the production really powerless, Or was the silence part of the strategy? And if that's even partially true, then Kevin Hart's defense becomes more complicated than it first appears, because now he isn't just defending a comedian, he's defending an entire system.
Her husband committed suicide 3 years into their marriage. I've been sitting next to her for 2 hours and I have to ask, how did he last that long?
Apparently black does crack if it's married to Cheryl and jumps off the roof.
There are folks out there who are really upset. They said it went too far. It crossed the line. What do you think?
You should be. It's in poor taste, but that's how they roast now, right? If you look at Tom Brady's roast, they hit below the belt there too. I wanted to prove is that I was strong enough to get all that incoming material, but I think while people are talking about it, it allowed me to talk about, if you're gonna go against my husband taking his life, let's talk about mental health and mental illness and things like that. But I thought it was odd. Why are you shooting at the big dog? But as they say, you think you hurt my feelings by talking about my dead husband? My husband only died once. You die every night with them whack-ass jokes you be telling.
Cheryl Underwood brings a completely different emotional layer into this debate, because while others are focused on comedy rules, she focuses on impact. She highlights how jokes in these environments don't exist in isolation. They connect to real-life experiences, real trauma, and real emotional weight that audiences carry with them. And that shifts the conversation again from what comedians are allowed to say to what audiences are forced to relive.
You may talk about me, but I know your kind. You want to hit this black harder than you hit the windows of the Capitol on January 6th. I got a chance to talk to Tony Hinchcliffe, and he told me where he was going. And then Shane Gillis called me, and we talked about it.
I called her yesterday. Shut up. I felt terrible about that. I had to call her.
They came with respect, but I didn't know exactly what they were going to say. Like when they talked to me about how they were coming at me, I said, it better be funny. That's the first bar, the hurdle. Outside. You wouldn't have made it out of Inglewood alive. I think that people should be upset, like the George Floyd jokes, things like that, the bonsai tree joke.
Right now, George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard that he can't breathe.
Kevin is so short. Kevin's so short that they're gonna have to lynch him from a bonsai tree.
That's why I wanted to go and do Shane Gillis's podcast. I wanted to go and do Kill Tony in Austin. I want to get to know what is in your brain that makes you think that this is okay. The Floyd family should be upset. The George Floyd joke that Tony told. But I believe on the side of the Cookout crew, Pete Davidson represented with the Charlie Kirk joke.
I agree. You got to be offended by both or neither.
I told Tony Hinchcliffe, personally, I said, no, you got to deal with the Floyd family, and they got hands. You know what I'm saying? You talking about somebody.
In this moment, Cheryl Underwood shifts the conversation from comedy rules to real human responsibility, and she brings a much more personal tone into the debate. She reflects on her interactions with comedians like Tony Hinchcliffe and Shane Gillis, explaining that even though she spoke with them beforehand, she still wasn't fully aware of what jokes would be delivered on stage. And that uncertainty is exactly what makes roast comedy so unpredictable. But then she draws a line that changes the mood. Because when the discussion moves toward jokes about deeply sensitive topics, like George Floyd and other painful real-world tragedies, Cheryl makes it clear that some material goes beyond simple comedy debate. She acknowledges that while comedians often aim to push boundaries, there are moments where the impact on real families and real trauma cannot be ignored. And in her perspective, even if intent is comedy, the emotional consequence can still be very real.
But would you say that this generation of roasting in comics, they do stuff that most people would think are in poor taste, but it still makes you laugh? It's how we talk in private with each other. Now it's just being recorded.
Do you think that they will change the roast, that they will not go as low or be as vicious going forward?
Oh, absolutely not. I think people are sharpening up their pens as we speak, because I think almost 14 million people have watched this roast. And I'm not saying, see, here's the thing that we have to understand. You're supposed to be offended, because that's what they want. They want you to be shocked and offended. But also, is it a great craft? Is it what we do well? Will it change roast? I think only the audience can determine that. But I also applaud Netflix. Thank you. Free speech is alive and well. but you brought us all together as
Defenders of roast culture argue something very simple. If you enter a roast, you enter knowing what comes with it. Nothing is off limits. Everything is fair game. And in that world, offense is not a mistake, it is the end point. But critics argue back, that intent doesn't erase impact. And that's where the two worlds collide. Comedy freedom on one side and cultural sensitivity on the other, neither side fully backing down.
We are offended. You are not going to hop on a big platform or any platform if you have a large platform or you are a major star. You are not about to get on one of those platforms or even your own platform and be defiant. You are going to apologize, because if you don't, they are going to make life extremely hard for you. Let's get back to the video.
And behind all of this debate, there's a harsh industry reality that can't be ignored. In entertainment, backlash doesn't just create conversations. It creates consequences, because once controversy spreads, pressure builds on everyone involved. Pratwams, producers, and performers all get pulled into the storm. And at that point, the question is no longer just about what was said. It becomes about how to survive what comes after it.
I watched Kevin Hart's whole Breakfast Club interview, and he talked for an hour and a half. That was the longest interview about absolutely nothing. There was zero accountability. There was 100% deflection. Oh, that was a roast. Everybody doesn't like a roast. A roast isn't for everybody. Oh, Kev, they said that you didn't have no black writers. Oh, there were 7 writers, and it was so-and-so and so-and-so. Well, if there are writers and the writers are writers, then the writers will be writers. So I'm not going to pay attention to the writers not being black writers.
What was funny at Breakfast Club with Kevin on there? What was funny about that? Like, Charlamagne over there, key, and then all that stuff. What was funny? Kevin ain't even funny. He wasn't saying nothing funny. Charlamagne over there losing weight, slapping knees. It wasn't funny. Like, he didn't take no accountability, whatever the case is, and y'all just thought that was funny.
Kevin Hart said, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And if you don't like it, don't support it. I'm a mega millionaire off telling jokes, and I'm not going to tell nobody else how to tell their jokes. He said, y'all got to grow up. And if you found it offensive, then you don't know comedy. It's not his job to police the people that he hired to entertain us. And if we weren't entertained...
But let's talk about it. You got on the Breakfast Club this morning and you were like, hey, like, not only am I, like, not apologizing for what this was because a roast is a roast, but Tony Hinchcliffe had the best set of the night. Kevin. Not only did he do the George Floyd joke, he stuttered through it. And you calling that the best set of the night? And I'm not saying everybody else was amazing. All right? You got the who's who of niggas who fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? But, like, the best set of the night?
No, Kevin, we're not mad that, you didn't say it. We all know that. We watched it. We saw it. You did not say it. We know. We did not want you to get up and beat Tony up. Like, the fuck? But we also did not want you to key and slap your knee like it was the funniest fucking shit that you ever saw in your motherfucking life. And I don't care that you had a conversation with, his brother at the end or whatever. It's the fact that you made it seem like you were really, in part for the community, and then thought the shit was funny. It's always so interesting how they build themselves off of black people, and the fact that we are always like, that's one of our own, that, we're gonna, hype you up, we're gonna do other things until we see how you really are. But Kat tried to tell people a long time ago about Kevin, especially, like I've always said, he ain't been funny since Tori was writing for him. It is what it is.
I just caught Kevin Hart lying in 4K.
It wasn't a tasteful joke to our culture, to our audience. Tony told a joke. We didn't like it.
Right now, George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard that he can't breathe. God bless you, Kevin. Bless you, Kevin. God bless this room. And God...
It wasn't a tasteful joke. We didn't like it, but I just showed you a clip of the Netflix special where Kevin Hart is literally laughing, pointing at Tony Hinchcliffe like, yeah, you the man. That was a funny George Floyd joke. Kevin Hart did a disservice to himself the way how he spoke on The Breakfast Club. Shout out to Charlemagne and Lauren LaRosa, who actually...
And when we combine all the reactions together, a much bigger picture starts to emerge. This is no longer just about Kevin Hart or one Netflix roast joke. It has turned into a divided cultural debate. Some people believe Kevin Hart is being unfairly blamed for something he didn't personally say or control. From their perspective, he is simply a host and producer caught in a situation created by other comedians on stage, but others strongly disagree. They argue that by defending the roast and the environment, Kevin is also responsible for the platform that allowed such controversial jokes to happen in the first place. And then there's a deeper layer, where people question the entire system of comedy itself. Is this just free expression? Or has controversy become part of the formula? Because in today's world, outrage doesn't just spread news. It fuels attention, engagement, and relevance. So at the end of all this, we're left with a question that doesn't have an easy answer. Is Kevin Hart defending comedy or defending the system that uses controversy as fuel? And is DL Hughley exposing a truth or adding more fire to an already burning debate? Because one thing is certain, in today's entertainment world, silence is suspicious, defense is controversial, and comedy is no longer just comedy, it's a battlefield.